Well, I am sitting here with Victoria Almarotti, who has been an astrologer for the last 25 years, right? At
Right.
least. Yeah. And
Hi.
hi, so nice to have you here today. Victoria is going to be teaching a course, a 10-week course for Nodoor on the astrology of teens and kids, or kids and teens. So
And
we're
the
looking
inner
forward to
child,
that.
and your inner child as well. Sorry to interrupt. Yes.
That's all right. And the course starts with No Door as the host, of course, on April 14th. And it's 10 weeks. And this is the kind of course that I know a lot of you have asked me, when are we going to do a course on kids and teenagers? Because so many questions come up for parents, obviously, when dealing with their kids and how astrology can really be helpful when it comes to trying to understand just who are these individuals that are your sons and daughters? Who are they? So, Victoria, thank you so much for your the course that you're going to be doing for us and for your commitment to helping parents understand a little bit more about these young people that they're playing this role with as parents. So thank you so much for that.
Thank you, David, for it's an honor for me to be the teacher for your school, for your prestigious school. And you have a very long trajectory. So you are like a master, you are like a teacher of
Mm.
teachers. So I really
Thank
appreciate
you.
to taking
Thank
me into account. And I'm really
you. Mm.
passionate about this as a mom, as a psychologist, and as
Yes,
a professional astrologer. I
I
mean,
know.
I
And,
work.
and yes, and in checking you out online, of course, and reading about you, I was really impressed with your work and your devotion to really helping people understand the uniqueness and potential of their kids. Because as you know, there's a lot of issues that
Many.
the parents get very distressed and confused and overwhelmed when,
Uh,
especially with teenagers.
Especially with teenagers, parents are having a hard time setting limits, or
Hmm.
they don't know where how to
That's
raise their
right.
kids without becoming going to one extreme or the other. And then there's a lot of new challenges due to technology. Now parents have to
Hmm.
control the real world and the virtual world, case by case basis. And then it's very hard to be a parent nowadays without being too harsh, or
Right.
you have to be pedagogical, but you have to set limits. So it's different, you know,
Right.
and well,
Your background in this, though, you know, you have a certificate in psychology.
yeah.
You also have a BA in business, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, as a Virgo Capricorn ascendant, I have studied as many
Yes.
careers as I could, and I still want to study more. I have my son in ninth house, as you may
Right.
know.
Yes.
So yes,
Yes.
I have a BA in business. That because my Capricorn father didn't allow me other options, and then,
Good.
and then I
Yes.
paid my. I study psychology. I have BA. I'm a licensed psychologist. I work as a psychologist, and I'm a professional astrologer. I live. I work as a professional astrologer uh,
Yes.
from Buenos Aires to the world, and in my own office, of course, here in Buenos Aires, Argentina. And I love
It,
teaching.
yes. In addition, yes, your ninth house really shows.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Hope
And
it's
in
useful to all.
and in addition to you know your background in astrology and education, uh, you raised two boys who are now in their late teens. Is that right?
Yeah, two boys. Now they're 18 and 15. One is starting university in Argentina, and now in March, late March this year, and the other one is in like middle high school. We still have 2 years to go, so 15 and 18 years old. Yes. Do you want me to tell you about their energies, or where do you want me to?
We will, yeah, I will ask you some questions, or you can talk about that in a minute. I'd love to hear
Okay.
that. And, but, so let me ask the obvious question here,
Okay. Yeah. Great.
which is what do you attribute your interest in the astrology of children and teens from your own childhood, not only from your experience as a parent, but what do you attribute from your own early life growing up that you think really is part of the hook for you when it comes to the astrology of children and teens?
That's one of the best questions somebody ever asked me. So thank you. It's good to talk to a master astrologer. And that's a very deep question. I haven't even thought about it myself. I
Mm.
can understand it astrologically, but I think it's maybe because from my parents' side, my father's side, my father's lineage, there's the first Argentinian medium. She was called Amanda. So the first Argentinian medium came from my father's side. And from
Mhm.
my mother's side, my mother came from Bulgaria. And my grandmother on my mother's side, she was Bulgarian, and she used a lot of astrology and other esoteric practices. So from a
Wow.
very
Okay.
early age, I was very conscious that there was other layers of consciousness. You know, my father he's still alive, a Capricorn, and he's 83. He's a engineer. My father's father was an engineer as well. My brothers are engineers, so I had to study business. So but have being raised in in a family of engineers, but having these other layers of consciousness, I was able to use like an astrological engineering. I started seeing patterns, but instead of numbers, astrologically. And then I had very early issues, of course, as most children before 4 years old, a lot of mediumnic experiences, many, which I recall very vividly. And then, well, I'm from Latin America, from Argentina, the southern country
Yes.
of the world. I was raised in a very tough era where there used to be a lot of insecurity. So I had a
Mm.
very tough insecurity issue where I had like, where I was when I was pointed to my head. Well, this is very sad, but sorry to tell you about this, but I had an assault. Uh, Everything went okay, but it was very traumatic. I was 10 years old. And so it was a
Mm.
robbery, an armed robbery, which was very usual in Argentina at that time in the 80s. And that changed me completely. That's where my Chiron in fifth house, for those that know a little bit more, can give you a reason. With this Chiron is that like unjustic, how would you say this? This wound that we don't deserve, but we have it anyway,
Hmm.
that marked my childhood. My childhood was marked by that. And before that, I lost a sister. She was born, and 2 weeks later she died. So
Hmm.
I started needing to have more explanations than just the plain psychology.
Sure.
So that's when something opened, and I am grateful to my parents that they didn't work against that. They let me develop.
How old were you when your sister died?
Well, 7.
You were
So it was
7?
that, yes. So
Okay.
Saturn, the first Saturn square,
Yes.
person.
Yes.
Yes. So don't worry, I don't predict these things to anybody. And what I've seen in my chart in my life, I haven't seen anywhere else in
Hmm.
25 years of practice. So I knew that these were waking calls, and that unfortunately, some of us learn through hardship and through extreme situations.
Hmm.
So this is something that was in my destiny, and well, I just use it to learn about other planes of consciousness. I understand that there was a deeper meaning, and there was a reason, an explanation, and there was other things beyond this terrestrial and
Did
physical world.
astrology when you were young and you were exposed to astrology early, which is a unique experience. Most young people, they don't have that background, you know. But did
Not
you?
not analogically, at least not analogically, maybe
Right,
virtually, but we had it
right,
analogical.
right. And it sounds like you had a spiritual background as well, right? Astrology and a spiritual. So you had some awareness as a child that there was a lot more going on here than most people were talking about, right?
Yes, maybe it was my Neptune in 12th house. For me, the 12th house is what you don't know that you know.
Right. Yes. So
And that's
you,
the
for you, that provided not only additional information about your experience, but there was something about it that was very reassuring and and even more than that, something that you could feel was real and even more real than what everyone was talking about.
yes, and I could make something out of it. Like I could
Yes.
make use of this pain, and I could use um, and there was so much knowledge and wisdom in that extreme experiences, so that I wouldn't have opened up myself to having contact with through the natal chart. My moon is also in the eighth house of
Hmm.
death, rebirth,
Hmm.
psychology, and also Freud. Sigmund Freud had the moon in Gemini in the eighth house. So many
Yes.
psychologists, we have the moon in eight. We feel secure. We feel safe in the deeper waters of the eighth house associated to Pluto and Scorpio. So,
Yes.
yes, my chart is quite clear that it was going to be a very intense life with extreme situations, and
Hmm.
that I have
Yes,
been
dramatically intense, dramatically intense.
dramatically intense, and unfortunately, regretfully,
Hmm.
because I don't like positive. Toxic positivity. Oh well, but okay, it's
Right.
something
Yeah.
that you have to go through, and I don't recommend it as a lesson.
Right.
I think it's very interesting to learn from wise people. It's very interesting to learn from other people. It's interesting to give meaning to your pain. No, and
Hmm.
because of my moon in Leo or my sun in Virgo, but my ninth house, and because of my Mars in fifth house, so I don't have melancholic personality. So fortunately, I wanted to make sense of this, and I was always like betting again to life. I was always betting back to life,
Hmm.
and I was always and like a spiritual tourist and a spiritual anthropologist, always looking. But astrology was the only thing that made sense for me. You know,
Yes.
I yes, I went through every every esoteric practice you could imagine. Maybe because, again, as I come from a family of engineers, astrology makes more sense because it's mathematical, and
Sure.
you can verify it.
Yeah. I understand. My father was an architect,
Oh, well, perfect. We are
and
architects.
before that, he was a pilot during the war, during World War II,
Ah,
and
wow. What was
and
his sun sign?
he's a Gemini
Ah, right.
with
Perfect.
the with moon in Leo, but in the ninth
Oh,
house, in the ninth house, and he had Sag rising, Sagittarius. Sagittarius runs in the family, all
yeah.
over the family.
Well, you're very protective. Hopefully that sounds protective.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. So it sounds to me like, your perspective was really unique from an early age, and it really helped you to navigate through some difficult times. Because I know that not only did your childhood have some heavy things to work through, some heavy challenges, but so did your married life, because how old were you when you married?
I was, well, I was, for my time, I was born in 73. So I was married at 33,
Okay. Hmm.
33, 34 years. Yes, I was like was the latest of my friends to get married. I was in no hurry.
Sounds like Capricorn rising. It's like
Capricorn,
this.
and I have Capricorn rising, and the Saturn, the Lord of the Capricorn
Hmm.
ascendant, is my seventh house.
Right.
So
Right.
it's
I
the
want
right
to
time.
I want to be successful in my
Yeah.
life and be able to manage my life myself before I get married and maybe have kids. Yeah, right.
Exactly, exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. I needed to have a building, as an architect. First, I need the foundations. I needed the
Right.
independence. That was very important for me because if I told my husband, my late husband, who was a Capricorn with a moon in Gemini, and he had Saturn in the first house, so we were a very good match. And he has Cancer ascendant, and I told him, if you want me to be the mother of your children, of our children, we need to negotiate some things because I love working and love my independence, but I really want to focus on childhood, on on raising our children. So
Yes.
I don't want to lose my autonomy. So yes,
Right.
well, I don't have a lot of water in my natal chart, so I have lots of feelings, but
Uh-huh.
I can dissociate and okay, let's negotiate. Then we can go back to our romantic selves.
Right. I get that. And so here you had this background, that was unique. And then you found astrology and you had this deep commitment to astrology. But you particularly began to shift your focus uh, in your practice to working with children and working with teens and helping parents deal with what the challenges of being a parent, you know. So at what point would you say that's still one of your main areas of focus in your work
It's
is
my
helping
main area. It's
main,
not the
yeah.
only because I'm very passionate as a
Hmm.
son, ninth house. I'm very passionate about everything. I need to live 8,000 years to do everything that I like. But yes, it has been my main focus and the thing I specialize the most. Um, and well, for me, it was from the beginning, from the beginning of the conception of my first child. I started studying conception. I studied everything that had already been said, written, and transmitted about it. And then I started doing my own experiments to add to what was already published and yes,
Hmm.
communicated. So for everybody. So I have two children. One is a Leo with the first one with a moon in Taurus, so very fixed
Okay.
energy. Yes. And the second one is a moon in Libra, and he's a Gemini. So one is very fixed.
Hmm.
And yeah, and the other one, and he hates me. And the second one, he's very airy and he's very light and he's very, but at the same time, he has this he has a condescendent bias because of his Libra moon. You, as David, if you don't mind mentioning that you're a Libra, you know what is this very nice bias that sometimes Libra people with a
Hmm.
Libra people can have. So they were so different energies, so
Yeah,
different. For me, my
very different.
natal chart.
Right.
Yeah. So I was explaining my Capricorn husband. Like I love your mug. So
Yes, it says I'm three. That's backwards in the image, but it says that's me at the beach when I'm like 3 or 4, I guess
oh,
3 years old
I
with my
think I said
sister.
17. So you left
Yeah.
at 3.
Yeah.
I feel like 17. You feel okay, good.
Yeah, well, my wife gave me this cup
Oh,
because
that's a great gift.
she says that my primary age is 3, so I think
Okay,
yeah.
she's right. She's probably right. A good wife is an oracle. So respect to
Yes.
your. Yeah. So when I understood, and my eldest one, he's a moon in Taurus, 29 degrees of Taurus, the latest one. So all in
Hmm.
Taurus in the moon, conjunct Mars in 29 of Taurus. So he was very stubborn. He was born, and the only thing I asked the doctor was, "What time is it? What time is exactly, please?"
Yes.
That was 2007. So I was very, I wanted to know the exact minute. Okay, so I started following my kids' chart, not in a neurotic way, but in a trying to be the best parent I could possibly be.
Sure.
Yeah, so
Astrology
yes,
giving you a little objectivity
yeah, it's
about your
very
kids.
hard to raise a Martian
Right.
first child and a Leo with a moon in fifth house with the moon conjunct Mars.
Right.
So
Because he
it's
wanted to be the boss, right? Right.
there was place for no one else. He was born and he looked at me. You know, as soon as he was out of my wound, won't. So lapsus. So he stared at me like, "You're not in charge anymore." That was what I felt. That's what I
Yeah.
felt as soon. And as soon
Mhm.
as they gave him to me, he knew exactly what to know, where he was, his food, everything. He was, and until his body could not move, he never slept, of course. Among Mars, he was very demanding. He was like very independent. And at the beginning, I felt guilty because he didn't take any naps. So he was 3 years old, and so in the morning, he went to kindergarten because he slept 3 hours. And in the afternoon, I sent him to a club to do sports. He was the youngest one. And when I pick him back from the club, they say, "We're exhausted." But isn't he exhausted? No. You know, but he never got tired. I thought that morning Taurus would be, very laid back, very chill, sleeping a lot. No. So because
But
he
it
was
was
in
in the
conjunct
fifth
Mars,
house, right? It was in
in the fifth house,
fifth house.
conjunct
That's
Mars,
different.
in
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
degree 29th, where there's fixed stars involved and other asteroids. I don't want to complex it more, but
Sure.
so I felt less guilty because guilt is a feeling that doesn't. It's not very useful. So when I came to terms, okay, you have this kind of instruction manual. He's a Moon Mars kid. He has to be playing sports, and he's a happier kid. And so I felt guilty that all the moms were napping with their 2, 3 year old, and he was in the club, playing sports. So, but
Uh,
but I have to go back to myself and say, okay, this is your kid. He's a happy kid. He's okay. He feels more loved and more understood this way. But culturally, it was like, you're getting rid of your children. You're not a very good mom. Especially at my time. Yeah. And I was very judged. And then the
uh,
other one, the moon in Libra, the second one, the Gemini, he wants always to be with me, and he took a nap, and we watched a movie together. It was completely a more normal, stereotypical, culturally accepted experience, you know?
right.
So,
Right. That's right. There's some astrological combinations that are more culturally compatible than others. That's right.
yeah, because I went to a birthday party, and all the children were sitting at that time, and my eldest was running around like crazy. And
hmm
nowadays he would have been medicated. Fortunately, I can channelize it in sports. Of course, I sought counseling because as a psychologist, I needed I use psychology, and but mostly to put guilt aside, and to accept his energy. And he tells me
Okay.
now that he's 18, I live here with you because I want to, not because I need you. That was, and he's a sun, and this is very important. His sun is in the eighth house. Okay, some people and children with lots of planets or important planets in the eighth house, you have to follow
Mhm.
them closely, not as a helicopter, more like a lighthouse. I'm more like a free ranger.
A
I'm more like a free
lighthouse. I like
ranger.
that.
No,
Uh-huh.
well, I'm more like a free ranger, but I observed, but I didn't want him to go to the dark side of the force because that eighth house, they see the darkness, they attract some
hmm
darkness. But if you're aware, you can teach them from an early age lots of things,
Yes.
and these kind of children would ask you very deep questions that maybe are not appropriate for their age. But if you don't answer them, they will seek that answer elsewhere, especially now that they have, internet and ChatGPT and whatever they have, whatever virtual
hmm
access. Now the children have tutorials. Tutorials are tutors, are parents. So if you are not getting what they ask for, they're going to ask the other tutors. So
Sure.
I knew that I had to not underestimate. So I started buying books about, death and about envy and about extreme things that he was having from a very early age, you
Yes.
know. So that was extremely useful. I said, I have to share this to someone. And then when I started teaching children's astrology, I also tell people this is useful also to understand your own inner child.
hmm
No,
Did
and
your let me ask you this. Did your first son, he had the sun in the eighth house, is that right?
yes,
In Leo. And did the second son have any planets in the eighth house?
yes, lots. Yes,
Okay.
lots. He
Right.
has a
And
Chiron, and I don't know, I think Saturn as well. Yes, both. He's a Sun in the 11th house and Moon in the third house. He has a lot of air. His Cancer
Mhm.
ascendant is marvelous. He's very sweet and he's very communicative. But
Mhm.
he didn't start speaking until he was 4. And I use a very wise Chinese expression, which
Mm.
is big, big.
Which one? The oldest one
No, the
didn't
youngest one, the
the
Gemini.
youngest one.
It's
Okay.
a paradox. The Gemini,
Mm.
I said, no, this is impossible. I can't have, I'm very talkative, I'm very mercurial. I cannot have a child that is not talking. Of course, we stimulated and did lots of things, but two things. Um, Big rooster sings late. It's a Chinese expression. Like the bigger the rooster, the wiser rooster, the later he chants or sings. It's a
Okay.
Chinese expression. I don't know how to say it
I've not
properly.
I haven't heard that one before, but I'll remember it now.
Okay, like big, yes, like big rooster
Okay.
chants later on. Okay, so he was born with Saturn entering his third house, the third house of
Okay.
communication. So I said, okay, so we have to work on that third
Hmm.
house of communication and thinking. So until that third house doesn't leave by transit, but until that Saturn doesn't leave that third house by transit, I don't think he would be able. I won't. I try not to suggestion it myself, not to make it like a
Hmm.
self-sufficient prophecy. But it really was helpful to understand. And I said, there's no way a Gemini with a moon in Libra in the third house is not going to have, is going to have. But then I said,
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking. I'm like,
no way.
no, it's gonna happen, you know.
And and at the beginning they say, okay, maybe he's in the spectrum. No, he's a Gemini. And I say, I know. They said the mom, she was in denial. But I said, you have a Gemini father. They can be, they have a very deep back room. So he's
Oh
a Gemini.
yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, my father's favorite thing to say was if something was bothering you, or upsetting you, he would say, "Well, think about something else."
That's brilliant. That's great.
Such a Gemini thing.
Oh, well, as a psychology, I will tell you that's very wise. That's a
Uh,
useful thought because
uh-huh.
he's choosing the less neurotic option.
Right. Option that works for Gemini. See, it works for Gemini. Yeah.
Well, I
You
always
can't
roast
say that
him.
to a Scorpio. You can't say that to a Scorpio.
No,
Oh, just think about something else. Scorpio's going to look at you like, "Are
when
you
when
are you insane?"
yes, yeah. That's
Yeah,
very disrespectful to a Scorpios, very
yes.
disrespectful. But what I like teasing Geminis about, when do you know the expression roasting someone? When I'm
Yes.
roasting Gemini people, you talk a lot, but you don't say anything. That's my moon in the eighth house. That's when
Hmm.
I want to roast them. Well, because they no, but we are saying, when they say everything, they talk a lot,
Hmm.
but sometimes they don't say anything. And then you have on the other spectrum, you have Scorpios. They
Right.
don't say anything, but then underneath, they will wait patiently and they will tell you something very harsh. And you have to teach Scorpios and Scorpio
Hmm.
children and children with a lot of eighth house, like my eldest son. Listen,
Right.
not everybody can go that deep.
Hmm.
Thankfully, lots of my eldest son, moms and dad trust me to see his friends' natal chart, and lots of Plutonian friends. He has lots of Plutonian friends, like Pluto,
Right.
the Scorpius ruler in the first house, conjunct
Right.
Partail, the ascendant. And I teach these boys, listen, don't naturalize that everybody is ready to go that deep so soon in any moment. Like they will be straight shooters, go very harsh, very deep, because
Hmm.
that's a natural thing for them. But not everybody is a diver of the deep ocean. Some people are
No, that's
dolphins,
true.
some people are
No,
submarines. So
that's
they
right.
are yeah. So I teach them, please, like, uh, how to say, try the grounds, like, be more tactful.
Yes. Yes. Well, from what I'm hearing about you today, there's quite an eighth house theme in your
Yes.
family.
Mm.
So that suggests that the experience for you as a mom of these two boys and their experience of life, all three of you have been through a lot together. You've been through a very intense time, more intense, let's say, than many families. Not all, but many families.
Yeah, we
And
had many losses,
how,
many losses.
and can you would you share with us,
Yes.
what was the most intense experience for you, uh, with your sons, um, growing up?
Well,
It was.
many things. First, when my mother passed away, like in 3 months span, from the diagnosis to
Hmm.
the death, 3 months. That was our only grandparent for the kids alive. That was very sad. Then, well, I was scared that our second child would be in the spectrum. I studied a lot about autism and neurodiversity. I studied a
Hmm.
lot. And children with any kind of diagnosis. I studied lots of correlations, neurological and psychiatrist. That does not replace any licensed doctor and on psychology, but it's very interesting to see
Hmm.
what you can do about it once you have the diagnosis or the illness or whatever. And
Yes.
then on February 24th, in February 2024, my husband passed away. He was 49. Um, and okay,
Wow.
I was, as an astrologer, I couldn't avoid it. Don't worry, I don't prognosticate these things, and I've only seen it in my chart. I was very worried for a very long time ago about that year because of his
Hmm.
chart, my chart, the children's chart. I can get very neurotic sometimes. So I just, okay. So I say, well, maybe it's my father who doesn't live in Argentina. He lives in the United States. Maybe
Yes.
he's passing away. I hope that is it. I was very worried about one day in particular. And I said, okay, unfortunately, he's at home. So the worst thing that happened is maybe there's a fire in the apartment. And when I came back home with the kids, long story, he was a Capricorn and he was working on a holiday. And there's a saying that you die as you live. And he literally died working. And he had a sudden stroke. He was a sudden death with no
No warning.
no warning. Yes, no, he everything. He was very studied and everything. He was a tennis player, a lawyer, very independent. He has his own law firm. He was very successful and a very good person, very ethical, and very shocking for us to kind of come back home and find him in that state. And there was
Absolutely.
nothing to do. So my children were very resilient, and I learned that they were going to be as good as I was going to be. So I told myself, so they had for me, for them to be all right, I have to be not perfect. They have to see me grieve, but I have to be strong. Also grieving, but strong.
Hmm.
So that unfortunately, I always had a very strong relationship with them. I sometimes took vacations and holidays with them. Without their father, because their father didn't like, for example, skiing. And here in Patagonia, have very nice skiing centers, and I love
Hmm.
skiing. And so once a year, I took them a week, and it was my time with the boys. I was the only mom with two boys. Usually, you see the dad with the boys or the woman with the girls, but it was the woman with the boys. I was the outlier, no? So
Right. Yeah.
people assume I was divorced or widow in the snow. So I always had this complicity with the boys. We always spend a lot of time together. So this
How
was
old,
really,
how old were the boys,
yes,
when their
sorry,
dad, when
about
their
my
father
ranting.
died?
They were 16 and 13. It was
16
two
and
years
13.
ago.
Wow.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yes. And I don't want anybody to get worried
No,
about
no,
this.
no.
It's not in the
Right. I
there's a
understand.
saying.
I understand. I'll just to show you how much I understand. Um, when I was the first in China and doing a book tour, where there would be a Q&A, all the people would, before I signed books, I would do a little lecture and people would raise their hands and ask questions. One woman raised her hand and she said, uh, my son was born with the moon in the eighth house. Does that mean I'm going to die early in his life? All right, this was a question she asked
Wow.
me in public, obviously big crowd. And I just said, I said, I don't know. I said, I don't know. Maybe, maybe not. I
Well,
said, but that's not
we
the
know we
point.
are all
The
going to
point,
die. We know we are
Yeah,
going to
we're
die.
all going to die. That's right, obviously. I
I
said that.
think mom, I would
Mhm.
say mom, like in my situation, I would
Uh,
say mom would go through a lot of grief, um, um, and maybe she's very resilient. Not everybody with a moon in the eighth house has a mom that passes away early, but
right.
yes,
It's
there are moms
true.
that has
And that's
extreme,
exactly what I said. I said,
that
yeah.
extreme
Right.
experiences.
Hmm.
Because
Right.
death is you die one day, the rest of your life you die symbolically. So
Mhm.
let's talk about death as a symbol,
Right.
you
So
know.
that's what I talk about. I say,
Right.
one of the
Brilliant
lessons
minds.
of the eighth house
Yeah.
is a more vivid, intense, intimate experience of life, you know. So when it comes to parenthood, being a parent, the eighth house is about the deep connection that you have with others or with in the sense with your kids, you know. So this means that you and your sons went through this very intense experience, went through this loss together, and
Yes.
that you learned from that experience and it bonded you on a deeper level. And because you have this background in astrology, you were able to understand the process.
Yes. I
Yes.
understand their process. I'll tell you one anecdote. We have like in the kitchen we have the chairs where we have dinner and or
Yes.
supper, as you say. And so
Mhm.
you know, I don't know, something very weird happened that a few weeks later, after my husband passed away, the chairs starting they were plastic, but good plastic, and they started breaking. They were starting breaking, like
Mm.
something like someone was sitting on the chair. So okay, so I got rid of the chairs,
Uh-huh.
and put them away and gave them away, recycle and everything. Very environmentally conscious. And then I bought new chairs. And my youngest child, he said he brought his father's chair back, and he sits there. So we have the same chairs, and there's a different one, which is still the old one, which is my youngest child. And I respected that because it was not his child. He doesn't want any more changes yet, and also I'm respecting his time. He's not ready to move on in that aspect
Ah.
or symbolically, you know.
Hmm. Yes. Yes. And so, this also, going through this experience, confronting your own pain and confronting your son's suffering too, you know, that but it nonetheless gave you insight and wisdom and depth that you earned from this experience, which then shapes you as an astrologer, because obviously our life experiences develop us in terms of the kind of astrologer or healer that we are,
Yes, that
so
having these tools is really a blessing, and you understand that maybe your whole life was a preparation for this moment. You know that I know it's a very used phrase, but it
yes.
really makes sense. And astrology really helped me understand on a deeper level and understand my children's timing through many techniques, like maybe the progress moon, that how they were evolving emotionally,
Hmm.
with the secondary progressions where you see how you are evolving emotionally. And okay, and then of course Saturn was very important to
Hmm.
see, because they were forced to mature faster than kids their age.
In one of the things I find in China when it comes to Saturn in a person's chart, as far as their family and growing up and so forth, is that it has a lot to do with grandparents' influence. Literally, we associate Saturn with older people, but specifically, it will symbolize that person's experience with their grandparents in some way, positive and negative, both, you know.
I agree. Yes, I
Hmm.
agree. And then you have the seventh and the first house for the grandparents, as you may know, because
Yes.
the seventh house is the fourth house from the from your fourth.
That's
and the
right.
first house is your fourth house from the 10th. So we
Hmm.
can see also many places where you can find grandparents,
Hmm.
and as a grandparent, your uh, your your grandchildren are in your ninth house, because it's
Yes.
the fifth of the fifth house of your fifth house. No, the children of your children. No,
Yeah.
for those that use derivative houses. No,
Right.
uh,
Right. So, um,
yes, but
in
you're right.
yeah. So the point I'm making here, obviously, is that astrology can really provide a framework that can guide you and help you through these very intense times,
Yes,
dealing with
having
loss,
this
or
philosophy.
even or dealing, if we go a little further into it, dealing with impossible rebellious teenagers,
Well,
for example.
first, one thing first, yes, having this philosophy of life, which is for me astrology, in a way, it give you like, okay, this was something I was bound to experience, like it was written somewhere. So,
Yes.
like, I don't like victimizing. I don't think I don't believe in failure nor in victims, but it really, when you see in the astrology, this was what you came to experience. For me, it was like some kind of explanation. For me, that's something that relieves me a lot, And then,
Mhm.
yes, raising rebellious children, for psychologists, the teenage years for psychology is like a temporary psychosis.
Yes.
so, so
Yeah.
you are not dealing with people in their normal.
I no, I know. In fact, I tell people that, when you once they're in their teens, it's like having an outpatient in your house, and you have to just be objective about the outpatient that's living in your house.
Yes, 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 yes. Yes, it's everybody. Yes, and the boys. I know you have three boys, and I have two
Mhm.
boys. In the case of boys, they are very tall, they are very big, but their brain still very small, very vulnerable. There's literally neurological death. No, their neurons are dying, so they are not in their right mind. They are literally their brain is shrinking and their body is getting bigger. So we are talking to these huge people that are not thinking straight.
Right.
So so yes, so that's why you work on Saturn. I always say, I know it would sound very cold, but put it in the right context of people that are good persons, or we are trying to be. But
Yeah.
for me, raising teenage children, it's all about negotiating. It's in a negotiate. I'm
Yes. I
negotiating.
would agree. I would agree completely.
I negotiate.
Yeah,
you
yeah.
know and you don't have to be perfect, and if they don't agree, always remember, either way, even if I'm wrong, when you are older, you will learn to forgive me. So I'm always teaching you something, because even if I'm wrong, because you have to, if you live in this house, you have to obey to some rules, or we can negotiate some rules.
Mhm.
And if I'm wrong, you will also learn to forgive me. So yeah, we
So
are teaching as a parent.
yeah, and one of the things I'm hearing you say, is how much of a difference astrology can make in negotiation. In other words,
Yeah.
if you if you really understand your child's chart, then it's going to give you a platform to negotiate. Really
Oh
does.
yes.
Gives you that platform. You're going to know what's going to really work with them or not.
It's so fun because
Yeah.
my Martian child, the eldest one, he's a tough negotiator, and fortunately he uses for his own.
Yes.
He has his own business already. Tauro moon. Your moon is what yes or yes will happen to you. So moon
Yes.
in Tauro is yes or yes you will make money.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say earlier that was the son that you can go over and eventually when he's grown, you can go swim in his pool.
Yeah, or his yacht. Yes.
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
Of
Exactly.
course, that's a great. Yes, of course, yes. To his spa, yeah.
Right.
And the other one, the one that has a lot of air, Gemini, Libra, and as I said, this condescendent bias. He said, no, whatever you want, mom. No, no, what do you want? No, what you want. No, what do you want?
Right.
And negotiating I'm as a psychologist, I want him to follow his own desire. I have to teach him not to be so influenced by others, but to find his own will. But it's very hard for him not to pick something that agrees with the other, you know.
Sure. Because there's so many options.
Yes,
A little bit
yeah.
of this, a little bit of that. Right. So, so we're beginning to talk a little bit more, in a way, about what your students could learn in taking this course with you. Again, I'm going to say the course that starts on April 14th, which is you, Victoria Almarotti, teaching the astrology of kids and teens. All right. So, what would you say are if you were going to bullet point what students could learn in this course? What are some of the main points that you make?
Okay, so foundations and clinical frame, some reasons why parents seek consultation, how to frame the child's chart responsibly,
Hmm.
explore potential challenge, why siblings from the same parents are so different, what to say and what not to say. The first class is what not to say to parents. That's it, the most important class, the first one, don't miss it. What not to say.
What is the most important thing not to say to parents?
Oh, he something terrible, horrible things. The church is flourishing. You know, we don't know exactly what his consciousness will choose. So the
Right.
child is flourishing. He's full of potential. So don't condemn, especially in a negative way. Oh, he will suffer. He will have an illness. Somebody will die, or he will die. No, those are self-sufficient prophecies. So I
Right.
hate. I get very mad at astrologers when they do that, you know, because
Sure.
they're doing a lot of harm, because eventually ends happening. And so you have to set your ego aside. So do you want to help, or do you want to be right? You know,
Hmm. If
we
you
are
want to be,
vessels. We
I,
are
I, I tell,
translators. We are
I tell
translators.
students, I said, if you're in this because you want to be right all the time, or you have this need to be right, you need to be a scientist. Because there you'll have, you do an experiment, you get the same result almost every time, right?
Yes, and yes, and you know, we have free
Yeah.
will. So there's a free will, and there's a level of consciousness. You have the natal
Hmm.
chart and different levels of consciousness.
Yes,
So,
of course.
you
And
know, so
and until you interact with the person or the family, you don't know what level of consciousness they're operating on. You have no idea. The chart doesn't tell you that. It tells you what they might be operating on, but you don't know until you interact with
exactly,
them.
context. It's not the same with a child who's born
Context,
in a
that's the
very
key word. That's right.
don't con yes
Context.
in
Yes.
psychology it's epigenetics, you know.
Yes.
So how are the parents? Where is he born? Was he born in a very vulnerable area, in a very poor area? Was he
Hmm.
born in New York? Was he born in Africa? You know,
Sure.
was he born in crazy Latin American times?
Right.
In context, you know.
Right.
So
Or was he like Mozart, born into a family where both parents are musicians? One is a court musician, you know, and so he was born into the perfect environment with a chart that matched that. So it's an example.
yeah, well, like the tennis player Carlos Alcaraz, his father was a tennis player as well. And then the child who has a great chart, and he's also he was very keen. He has the
Right.
sports gene, and so it's
Right.
perfect match. But he was in the context of tennis player.
Hmm.
So the epigenetic, the context, and are the parents consulting because they want to control, or they want to be the best as possible, you know, as mindful
Right.
as possible.
Right.
So you know,
Exactly.
then we go deeper into the more technical aspects, or we
Yes.
going from hardware to software, to technical, to interpretation,
Hmm.
astrological houses. You know, when if you're an adult and you walk into your, if I go and walk into your office, or you walk into my office, you see things, you see the table there. But if a 2-year-old or a 10-year-old comes into your office, he or she will see things from different perspectives. So the same with the natal chart. It's not the same
Hmm.
perspective of the natal chart for a 2-year-old than for a 10-year-old or 18-year-old. So it's because at 2 years old, you're not using most of the chart. So
That's right.
who are the other people that are in the chart? Or what
That's
is he
right.
going, what things are going to get impressed? What through which lens is he going to see his parents' relation, his friends' relation, his body, his health? So I always use a constructive approach, never a doom. I don't think I think everything has a purpose. Oh, Mars is in Libra. Oh, my child, Mars is not in a very good dignity. No, this is
Sure.
a diplomatic. We have to find context where this is useful. Mars in
Yes.
Libra can be very diplomatic. He's
Yeah.
a
Yes.
warrior that meets ends.
Hmm.
So that's my approach. I cannot be pessimistic. In spite of everything that happened to me, I cannot. It's not in
Sure.
my
And
nature.
if you have a child with Mars and Libra, that that child is going to negotiate fairly.
Very. So what's not dignified there? So
Right. That's what I say. I understand the concept,
yeah.
obviously, of dignities and debilities, but in the reality of working with people as an astrologer is different.
Yes. The difference between the students and the teachers is
Yes.
how many hours of experience you have. The difference
Mhm.
between David and me is he has more years of experience than me. The difference between our students and us is that maybe we have more experience. So the more charts you see, the
Mhm.
less you get to think on your own and to realize that everything there's no punishment from the universe. Oh, I have a big square. Good for you. You are hard
Mhm.
will, you know?
Right. That's the first one of the first things I said. I was one of the first voices, and you would appreciate this in
I really
China
appreciate
about personal growth and that astrology can actually bring about personal growth. When someone asked about squares, I said squares are character building aspects. And there was
Yeah.
just blank faces all around the room. Everyone was like, huh? What is he talking about?
Yeah, but
You
you know
know,
what's the problem,
because no
Roy?
one, they didn't understand at the time, that
There's a
everything in a
second
chart
difference.
has positive and negative potential,
Yes,
for
yes,
growth.
it
Yeah.
depends on you what you do with that, and also you cut off their grief. In Spanish, se dice cortar el goce. Maybe they were no, if you get melancholic, no, because I have so much squares, and then somebody tells you no, that means you can be very strong-willed, and that
Right.
you have to put lots of discipline, and then
Hmm.
you have to let go of that excuse.
Yeah, because obviously a square is about something very important in your life because it has to
Right.
do with it has to do with your experience of security and
Yeah,
how
when
you
I saw
manage
my
your
second child,
insecurity. Yeah.
sorry about the interruptions, the delay. I'm sorry.
No,
Um,
it's good.
my second child has a very big square, a red square with two oppositions. It's all red. The chart is red. Like and like a traffic light. And I was great. He will be very strong-willed, and it's not something that I thought I would be proud of, but it's very rare that at the end of the year he doesn't get a prize, like more effort, the best, the one that struggled, made the most struggle, that the one that made the most advance, the one that the teachers love. He always gets a recognition from the school, because of his will, so
Mhm.
his strong will. So that's very interesting, because maybe he will remember his childhood like something quite hard, but then it will get easier for him to assume responsibility. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah. So well, then I continue with the content of the. Okay, so we reinterpret the 12 houses from a child-centered lens. How does environment shape experience? How do we
Hmm.
symbolically locate all the houses, what you normally associate with the astrological houses, but from the perspective of a child, and of course, where do we symbolically locate mother and father? And the chart being as concrete as possible, as a reality, not as a merely abstraction, no? Then
Right.
of course, we cannot talk about the moon, the most important planet, and the other things related to the moon. The moon as a core of the childhood, the first caretakers, emotional needs, early attachment patterns, if you believe in that, I will talk about that, and a defense mechanism that you develop as you grow older. Um, and then other aspects where we can see the mom, which is like the south moon, the south node of the moon that we talked earlier in the
Hmm.
backstage. David, would you like to add something to that you are more keen on it?
Say that again. I want to understand your question.
Yes, that aside from the moon and the
Uh-huh.
houses, and also the lunar nodes are very important to
Oh,
understand
the lunar
your
nodes.
hidden
Yes,
mom,
of
like
course.
especially the south node.
Yeah, yeah,
No.
yeah. Of course. The South Node has everything to do with how we approach securing ourselves. And that security is really important. A lot of people, have the wrong idea about the South Node. The South Node is something we've been working on a long time.
Yes.
And some of what we've been working on a long time becomes a talent, it becomes something that we're good at, you know. And
Yes. Yes. Exactly. As
and in that sense, it's not something that you want to throw away or get rid of. No, it's a part of you that got you here, you know, and it's the oldest side of you. So whenever you're feeling insecure, you're going to fall back on that side. And that's helpful to know that rather than
it's very
rather
and
than
sometimes for example, I have a moon in Leo, but sometimes when I understood my south node conjunct Saturn, that's where I understood I'm
and
the eldest.
what sign is that? You have the South Node
In
conjunct
Cancer.
Saturn.
I have my north node in Capricorn in house one, and my south node in Cancer conjunct Saturn.
Ah, there we go. I have to
There we
point
go.
that out to everybody. All right. If we wanted to recognize in your chart a symbolism that might suggest your seriousness about parenthood and your seriousness about children, certainly Saturn in Cancer conjunct the South Node in Cancer is perfect symbolism for that. Perfect.
Yeah, thank you for
What
I'm,
house?
I'm
What
learning. I'm
house is
learning.
that?
I'm learning with you. I'm learning. Yeah, and also
Is that
I
seventh
understood.
house? Is that in the seventh house?
Yes, in the seventh house. That's
Okay.
why my Saturn in seventh house, and I married the father of my children, which is Saturn in the first house.
All
So
right.
yes, very everything perfect, and he was a Capricorn, of course.
Mhm.
And so what I so I'm the eldest of four children, and I'm the
Wow.
only daughter, and
Okay.
then I had three boys, three brothers. So lots of masculine energy in my life. You know,
Hmm.
three brothers, two boys, two sons. So I understood the solitude of being the only woman and the eldest, and the responsibility. And
Hmm.
oh, you have a Leo moon, you were the golden girl. Yeah, but when I understood my south node conjunct Saturn, I understood the solitude and the isolation and the harshness and the more responsibilities I received for being the eldest one. You know,
Hmm.
so and they expected much more from me.
Hmm. It really fits being the oldest kid though with Capricorn rising, Moon in Leo, you had to be responsible. You had to grow up earlier. You had to grow up fast because, everyone was looking at you to manage responsibilities early, so
Yes,
you did. You took on a very you were an old child, more
yeah,
than likely. Yeah.
an old child,
Yes.
of course, of
Yes.
course. Of course, yes, very nicely said. Okay, so we will talk about all the aspects where we can find
Mhm.
um, your childhood.
So if
Yes,
someone taking your course, um, after those 10 weeks, their grasp, their understanding of how to use astrology in working with parents and children, this is, they will have gotten the basics of what's important in that role as an astrologer,
yes,
working
yes,
with
to understand
families.
they
Yes.
how was their own childhood, and how to understand how they are experiencing them as parents. you
Hmm.
know so it's very interesting to know, okay, So
And
of
that
course,
is an extremely important skill set, and knowledge base to have, because one of the top questions you get from clients is about family, it's about their kids. This is a normal conversation that you're having with a client. So,
yes, and yes, so that's why working with parents charts is also very important for me.
yes.
And the good news is that if you ask yourself if you are doing a good job, you probably are, because you are asking, at least you're asking yourself that question.
Right. Exactly. One of the points I make early on, I'll bet you make the same point, is that, when you look at the parent's chart, let's say the parent uh, has a lot of either first house or Aries kind of energy.
Cardinal
And
energy.
and so the parent is very self-reliant, a very direct person, and wants to go and get things done. Let's get it done, you know. And they have that kind of energy. But maybe they have a child who's Pisces
Or
with a lot
12.
of with a lot of 12th house
Yeah. Yes.
uh,
Yes, 12th house,
planets or a
Pisces.
strong Neptune.
Yes, Neptune in the first. Yes.
Mhm. And
Yeah, well, it's good to manage expectations,
and the
you know.
Aries parent is pushing them, saying, "Come on, do it. What's wrong with you? How come you're so slow? What are you on another planet? Earth to, let's say the child's name is
There's a
is
yeah, there's a
is
very famous
Greg,
phrase.
Earth to Greg, Earth to Greg. Come on, you know.
Earth to Greg, yes. Well, Greg is a very good example because of the book,
Oh,
Greg's
I just
Diaries.
grabbed that name. I don't know where that
Yeah, I
came
know. It's very, very good one. And
from.
yeah, there's a saying. Once my husband phoned me, he was a Capricorn, very cardinal, Saturn in the first house, Mars in
Hmm.
Sagittarius, sports, everything. And he was with our Taurus moon, Mars in Taurus, eldest one. So he was into sports, but not very physical sports, He was very, so he took him to football lesson and he phoned me, what position is that where the kid is looking for clovers in the field? What position? So,
No,
he
no,
was
I know
probably
that one. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
he was looking for clovers. Clovers, the four-leaf clovers, the lucky ones. He was looking for clovers in the field in the middle of the football match. I
Yeah.
said,
There's always a kid like that too. There
so we
is.
took him to karate, to taekwondo, to martial arts, and that's where
Okay.
and that is not so physical. And his moon Mars, he started to break, and break woods, and that was really useful.
Uh-huh.
That was his best ever. That was when he was at his best.
So again, astrology helps us to recognize the potential
I cannot,
talents,
I
the
cannot,
talents.
I couldn't have raised my children without astrology. I
I,
think.
yeah. No, I understand. I totally understand.
I
In
would have been
fact,
crazy.
I was I was a new student of astrology
Yes.
with my first son, because I have,
Wow.
with my first son. And well, I got to make a long story short here. But I knew in the beginning that he was going to be, more creatively inclined, because he had Pisces rising, moon in Pisces in the 12th house, North Node in Pisces, so I told his mom, I said, I think he's going to grow up to be a musician of some kind, possibly a creative person. She said, no, he's going to be a football player. My son is going to be a football player. Well, he did have Mars and Capricorn in the 10th house. All right. So he was pretty good in sports, in fact. But what did he grow up to become? A musician, of course. And now that's just one example.
Well, that's very good
You,
example. You give me the cue for the next. You want me to continue with the contents because
yeah,
Mercury and learning styles and the third
yes,
house
I
and the
love
ninth
that.
house.
Mercury and learning styles. Yes.
Yes, yes, yes.
That's a
Mercury,
great
Mercury,
topic. That's a great topic. You need to,
Mercury,
which
Jupiter.
class is that going to be? Mercury.
I
I
think
want to listen to that one, Mercury and learning styles.
the latest. I don't. I have it. like approximately the fifth class, but it
Hmm.
depends. The contents will take. We go all over these contents, but we can give you a spoiler earlier on, of course, when we
Uh-huh.
see all the zodiacal houses and the planets and okay. But when we dive deeper on Mercury, the latest would be the sixth house, the sixth week. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mercury and Jupiter, and the third house being the primary and kindergarten, and the ninth house being mostly the the secondary school and university and higher studies. The fifth house is also the house of children. It's also the first teachers they have, especially in kindergarten. And well, Mercury and learning styles. And for example, if you have Mercury and Saturn conjunction, Mercury in a fixed sign, sometimes they need to go deeper and they need more time, to mature
Hmm.
concepts. And then you have like Jupiter, Uranus, Jupiter, Neptune, Jupiter, Pluto, and people that have very hypersynapses that learn very fast. My eldest one, he has Uranus, the ruler of Aquarius, in the third house.
Hmm.
So he's very intelligent, but the third house is in Pisces. So Uranus is in Pisces, and all of his friends, all the Uranus in Pisces generation, because Uranus
Uh,
is a ruler of the net of networks of the neurological network. It's
mhm.
also body related to your neurological system. So they get very easily distracted, and that third house in Pisces with Uranus there, he started when it was activated by transits, and when he was 15, uh, with his Jupiter return,
Mhm.
which is a very good thing for everybody in the family. That like the endorphins are back, the joy of living is back. Um, he started playing music, and he started playing classical music, and now
Wow.
he's a concertist.
Hmm.
And and he's also a gamer developer. He likes to develop games.
Ah,
So yes,
okay.
Uranus, look, his imagination goes. So it was very interesting because at first I was thinking, what is he doing with the game? So I'm constructing. Okay, he has Uranus there. He's okay. So okay. I don't
Makes
know how,
good
but I think
sense. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I think he's not lying to us. I think he made a company out of that. And then
Hmm.
and he plays piano because he needs to relax and because
Hmm.
he's to get off the computer. So piano is like it's a water element music.
Right.
Yes. And the other one,
Of
no,
course.
the other one, he likes to read and read the Gemini one. So Gemini, Mercury, Jupiter, third house, ninth house, aspects to Mercury, aspects to Jupiter, um, and well, and
A
many
lot of
others.
air signs too.
Lots
Yeah,
of
and the
yes. Where
set
is your
in the
Gemini? Thank you.
youngest.
Where
Yeah,
is your
yeah,
Gemini?
yeah.
Where's your
Mhm.
Aquarius? Where is your
Yeah.
Uranus as well? So and
Speaking of
actually,
learning, speaking of learning styles, it's like
there are many.
the air signs are much better at you know book reading and listening to what the teacher says. You know, whereas the water signs may not are not going to hear as much, and they're
Yeah, yeah. I love God. I'm a God. I'm like a volcano. I'm earth and
mm.
fire. So
Hmm.
when I learn, I like to go. And when I teach, I also like to give a lot of examples. You know. Uh,
Good. And so
yeah.
in the class, you'll be
Yeah.
giving examples from your own files, from your own experience.
Yes.
But also the students will be
Yes.
volunteering
Please.
either, their charts or
Very
their
welcome.
family's charts. And that becomes really exciting because you've got the chart there, you've got the perfect demonstration for all the students from the different, from the different volunteers. So that's going to be fun, I think, for
Yeah,
you.
I love questions. It's very challenging, and I
Hmm.
like learn. I think we have in Argentina a writer that passed away called Jorge Luis Borges, and he said, "I love teaching because that's when I learn more."
Yes, that's right. You're never more of a student until you try to become a teacher. That's right.
Exactly,
Absolutely.
exactly.
Yeah.
Well, then,
Well,
then yeah,
Victoria,
yes.
on that note, unless there's something else that you would like to say,
Oh,
right
good.
now
So the sun,
to your
the
potential
Venus,
students.
yes,
Is-
Venus, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, outer planets and sensitivity, the generations, Chiron, childhood wounds and healing themes, Uranus, Neptune, and Pluto in early life, highly sensitive children, indigo, crystal, and rainbow typologies, approach symbolic and psychologically, generational imprint and collective influences. Then, I think we'll have the time, or at least you'll have the slides, twins,
Yes.
siblings, same chart, different expressions, key developmental ages, typologies of children, clinical cases, examples. Then I would like to have time to have the conception, genealogy,
Mm,
integration,
they're
astrology
going to
of
love
position,
that because they
and
haven't gotten
gestation.
anything. They haven't gotten anything on conception. So I can tell you that would be a brand new material for them too.
Oh, great. Parents'
Mhm.
emotional state during your own the pregnancies of your own when you were in your
Right.
mother's womb.
Right.
um, Arabic parts of mother and father, and other clinical integrations, and so that you can be able to conduct structured child chart consultations. As a Virgo, I will give you I will leave you a guide, with numbers from steps, what to do and to look. Then you have to with practice you can make a more holistic approach, but first you have the more structural approach, and then translate symbolism into practical guidance, support parents without inducing fear, like uh, putting fear aside would be your most important task, and
Yes.
fortifying the parents' instinct, no? And read the potential in the chart of the children instead of labeling and putting roofs and limits, and integrate psychology astrologically ethically. So
Wow. That's that's a
very
full 10
ambitious
weeks.
course, very
That is a
ambitious.
full 10 weeks for sure. And we thank you so much for joining our faculty.
No,
You're one of
thank you.
you're the newest member
Wow.
of our faculty. So
Oh,
thank you so
I'm
much.
very, very honored. I'm very, very honored. Thank you so
So
much.
are we. So are we, Victoria. So we're looking forward to your course, which again begins April 14th. And Victoria Almarodi is your teacher about the astrology of kids and teens. Great. Thank you so much, Victoria, for this interview. It's great to get to
Thank
know
you,
you.
David. I learned a lot. I learned a lot in this interview. Thank you very much.
Me
I'm
too. Me
really
too.
looking forward to meet your students.
Okay. Yes. Looking forward to meeting you. Are you going to be at UAC?
I don't know. I would like to, but
Yeah.
no,
It's
I'm
no, I know
extremely
it's challenging when you got a busy life and busy practice and you're a busy
no, the
mom.
motherhood, the busy motherhood, because it's a vulnerable phase, teenage, you know,
Sure.
and yeah,
I know.
and yes, I cannot leave them with anybody else because I don't have another family member in Argentina, so that's, but in 2 years' time they will both be. Uh, they will be more than 18 years old, mayor de edad,
Yes. So
let me see what.
you'll start traveling more at that point, maybe.
I will go back to traveling more. Yes.
Traveling more. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. But I
Okay.
knew this would happen. So with my
Mhm.
husband,
Sure.
well, I
Sure.
traveled a lot before marrying, and before getting married, and after we married, we took a 2 month honeymoon because we knew, and I told him we won't be able to travel a lot afterwards. So
That's right. That's exactly right. All
yeah, but
right.
I'll be back. I'll be back.
Great. All right. Well, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Okay. Thank you, David. Do you want me to stay or do you want me to?
Now I'm gonna stop right here.
Okay.